morning, everybody. Good morning. Isn't this a great day in the neighborhood? And you're probably saying, why are you all cutting the ribbon before the program? That's because we just thought this is different, so we do something different. We're all excited to be here. You see who's up here with me. We'll go down. Sorry, that'll take me 10 minutes. But we've got people here who played a major role in bringing our city where it is today. One of the things we promised when we came into office is that we were going to make sure that this was one city. And that one city is not 6 wards, it is 8 wards. And that we were going to do everything we could to make sure the east end of this city had the same amenities, the same opportunities, the same commitment as everywhere else. And that's what this is about today. A few weeks ago, we were with Congresswoman Norton to be able to help cut the ribbon on the Coast Guard headquarters across the street. I was just talking to Admiral Brown, and you say there's almost 3,000 people that have moved in. And as you all know, there will be 47,000 people working in that building. That was a joke, right? I think there'll be close to
14,000 coming in total.
Yeah, that's right. And in that building, 3,700, right? Yeah. And of course, this will be a complement to it over here. This is just the beginning, ladies and gentlemen. This is a part of being able to complement, take advantage of the opportunities that we have across the street. But all of these buildings will be preserved. Work is already underway to make sure those buildings will be with us for a long time, and there will be a lot of commitment to technology opportunities here, especially recognizing that we are building right around the corner a brand new Frank W. Ballou High School. That will be open next August. It will be open for the next school year. And we were talking about it earlier. It's going to be perhaps, although we've got some really beautiful high schools that we built, it's probably going to be the most beautiful of those that have been built in the recent era. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, our Congresswoman's going to have to leave a little early, so I'm going to give her a chance to say a couple words.
I'll come in.
Oh, you are? Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right. All right. How about you do the countdown?
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. And welcome to the never closed, always open, 24/7 District of Columbia government. I want to thank. This is really an exciting day, and really the excitement is palpable here. You can feel it, and I won't repeat what I said outside, and we'll probably, in one way or the other, probably echo those sentiments this morning. I want to thank all of you all for coming out to the ribbon cutting this morning. And it really is great to see so many people out here to help celebrate the future of Ward 8 and the East End of the District of Columbia. It was about 4 months ago that we were here for the groundbreaking. I've actually come on the grounds on weekends just to see the progress and talk to the folks who were working, because they were working almost 24/7, right, Brian? And I was out here one day. I said, "You guys really going to get this done?" And he said, "You all said you told us it had to be done, right?" I said, "Well, that's what our DGS folks told you," and they absolutely got it done. And what a fantastic facility it is. Anyway, it's the completion of a project that we think will help us achieve a number of our economic development goals for providing jobs, services, and other amenities for residents in this area of the city. I again want to thank our Congresswoman, Eleanor Holmes Norton, for being a great partner. She and I work very closely together on lots of things, and appreciate the fact that she is such a fighter for us on the Hill. We were involved in budget issues recently, and it was great to be able to be in the foxhole with somebody who knew where to throw the bomb and not at us. She is, of course, a native Washingtonian and loves the city as much as all of us do. I also want to thank our Deputy Mayor, Victor Hoskins, Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, I think Victor does an absolutely extraordinary job, and Victor, I think so do a lot of other people. I think so as well. You know, we had a hearing yesterday that wasn't so respectful. I'll put it that way. I'm not going to dignify with a lot of verbiage about it. But I want you to know that I think you and your team of people have done an absolutely fantastic job of helping us to bring to fruition the goals that we set out in the first place. And we're going to hear from both you and Catherine this morning as well, because Catherine has worked feverishly, ferociously, in order to be able to help get us to where we are today. I also want to thank the Department of General Services, led by Brian Hanlon. They just celebrated their second anniversary on October 1st. It was an agency that did not even exist before October 1st, 2011. We brought together a lot of the elements in the city to be able to create an overall construction and maintenance and planning agency for the purpose of planning construction projects. This was an aggressive timeline, and Brian, once again, you all got it done. I have to thank our city administrator, too, who does such a great job. It's wonderful to have Alan Liu on your team because he gets it done. You give him a date, he'll give you a date, and he gets it done. And you don't want to be in the room sometimes when he's talking to those who have to get it done, because it isn't always the most pleasant conversation. I hope we're joined by Councilmember Barry this morning. I know he's been ill a little bit, but maybe he will join us, because I know he was deeply committed to this having happen. And of course, I have to thank Mary Cuthbert. Mary Cuthbert is a longtime friend, a longtime leader in the District of Columbia. And Mary, I know this has to make you feel wonderful that this has come to fruition. I love the way you dressed today with your sign and with the tiara that you have as well. I want to thank those also who worked in the community to be able to make this happen. As you call it, Mary, the castle? Well, the castle is done. And finally, our federal partners, and you're going to hear from a number of these folks. I'm delighted that the Vice Admiral Manson Brown has joined us today. For those of you who don't know, he is a native Washingtonian, and I know he appreciates this as much as every one of us do. A graduate of is it D.C. Public Schools, right? Was it Roosevelt? St. John. Oh, St. John's, excuse me. Okay. That's not a D.C. public school, but it's a good school. And it is in D.C. In any event, this is being called, did you all check out the name? Gateway. Did you check how it's spelled? With the 8? Y'all probably got that right. Yeah. And then some of you saying, I didn't even look at it. It's G8, gate, okay? Which I think is a very clever way of expressing what we got. We've selected Brown and Freed as the management firm for the pavilion. Jeff Freed, who I've known for a very long time, will lead that team. They'll be responsible for the managing, marketing, and programming for that site. You know, I want to take I guess they're still here. There they are, right there. You know, we have an up-and-coming champion, I'm going to say, in the District of Columbia, and that is Dusty Harrison. He is a boxer. He has done extremely well. He lives right here on the east end of the city, and he will be fighting for the WBC World Championship on November 2nd. Is it Atlantic City you're going to be fighting? Where? Madison Square Garden. Doesn't get any better than that. So please stand up and be recognized, Dusty. And his dad is here with him, too. His dad has been quite the mentor for Dusty, and we want to thank you, too, for what you do for your son and for the city. They're out working and running and doing everything, running through our neighborhood every day in Ward 7. We are going to, we're going to be having here, we've talked about pop-up retailers and a cafe and a restaurant operator and other uses of the space that is enclosed. This is going to be quite an operation here, and it will be unparalleled in the District of Columbia. This is restoring what we think is a real gem. There's 180 acres on this side of the avenue, and we're looking forward to being able to restore it and make some new uses of it. I think many of you know that we anticipate having a technology presence here. We know that CITLM is coming. We know that SmartBIM is coming, and we're about that close, Victor. We're waiting to make some decisions on an academic partner for Microsoft. Microsoft and Ward 8. Did y'all ever think that was going to happen? But I'm confident that it is going to happen. In any event, we got the Congress Heights Metro Station, which has been underutilized for a number of years. I suspect it's not only going to be well utilized, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't face the prospect of having to expand the Congress Heights Metro Station because of the use of it. In any event, this will bring 21st century and next generation job training to the east end of our city. It will become a center for exploring new opportunities in construction development, energy. Our sustainability plan will get a big boost as well from what's going to go on here, green practices, and then, of course, the technology uses that will be made of the campus. This will be a marketplace, we think, for ideas, for innovation and commercialization. It will connect the business, academic, entrepreneurial, and government ventures even more closely over here. And we think will become a national model for the District of Columbia. In any event, I'm not going to talk much more about technology. Oh, we have a medical professional here. Guess not. Somebody apparently passed out. So if we can get, we'll put 911 to the test. By the way, we have 13 new ambulances that arrived by the end of September. We'll have 17 more in addition to that by the end of December. We'll have 30 new ambulances that will have reached the city by the end of this calendar year. And we hope this person obviously is okay. In any event, I want to thank all of you all for coming out. I want to start, of course, with a set of speakers, and it would be entirely appropriate and would be inappropriate if we didn't have our Congresswoman to be our first speaker. Good morning, Congresswoman Norton. How are you today? We're delighted to have you here.
Who needs steps? Really, I mean it. Who needs steps when, look what you've got. You have got, I mean, think about it. I know you have a command center here, of course, Mr. Mayor, and we have, of course, St. Elizabeth's Hospital, the new St. Elizabeth's Hospital. But just think about it. In terms of what the public sees, probably hasn't been anything built on this side or the west side in more than 100 years. So this is really a historic occasion because you are seeing brand new construction heralding a brand new era for the east side as well as the west side. And you see the west side is out as well in numbers. Our Vice Admiral, Admiral Brown, and the commander, I understand, of Bowling is here as well. Also here are the staff directors for the Appropriation Committee, which has jurisdiction over the District of Columbia, Marianne Upton and Dale Cabanis, and we appreciate that both of them have come. Marianne Upton works for a very good friend, Tom Udall, who served with me in the House and is now in the Senate. And I want to say to Dale Cabanis that I hope she will go back. And I've called Mike Johans, a Republican who is the ranking member of the Financial Services Subcommittee with jurisdiction over the district during the shutdown. Mary Landrew, our very good friend who used to chair the DC subcommittee, and I work closely with Senator Johans. Now, he is a new senator, but he identified with the plight of our city because he is also a former mayor. So if you would tell Senator Johans that I called him right after, but of course everyone was getting out of Dodge at that point. And I look very, very much forward to meeting him and thank him from the bottom of our heart for the bipartisan way in which he worked with us, not only to get the district finally open, but remember, unlike the federal government, which could close down, let us not even envision that. But in January, because it goes for 3 months, we were able to get the district's own money, for which we should be grateful. It's ours. Own money out for the entire fiscal year, and we couldn't have done it without our good friends, our bipartisan friends in the Senate, and for that matter, our Republican friends in the House as well. But Mayor Gray, I want to thank you. I want to thank particularly Deputy Mayor Hoskins. It can't be, 7 months ago we were here? 4 months ago. The weather hasn't changed that much. And look what they have done in no time flat. What we're going to see is two-sided development of St. Elizabeth's. Now, it never would have done to have entirely new structures on the west side and nothing on the east side. And the city and the mayor understood this from the beginning, and frankly, in working for the funds for the west side, I always had in mind, in my head, was the vision of the new Martin Luther King Avenue, reviving our major avenue here in Ward 8. So I want to say to all of you in the city and your partners that I am not the only one today that I'm sure we want to thank Mayor Gray and Deputy Mayor Hoskins and all who have worked so closely on this project, because this bright idea, whose ribbon we have just cut, will bring especially DC residents amenities that they have long asked for and long needed. So we have almost 4,000 employees. Those are the first employees, the Coast Guard employees. They're pioneers over there. They've never worked in a part of the city that is being constructed. They're ready. They're Coast Guard people. I'm not worried about them. But I did think it's wonderful that we don't want them harnessed and gated. I like the Gateway Pavilion. I don't like the notion of gated inside the West Campus. We can't do anything about the wall. But they do have to come through the east side to get over, and we wanted very much that there would be something here. We knew there would be something here. But for the retail that we anticipate will take some years. You don't get that immediately. So here's where the mayor's bright idea comes up. Why not an Act One? And that's what I regard this as. This is a prelude of the kind of retail you're going to see on this side of the Anacostia. To be sure, the presence of federal employees has stimulated this. What they have done is what they have done for every part of the city. Whenever a federal agency moves into any part of the city, springing up around it is retail and mixed use of every kind. So what is happening here is simply what has happened in every part of the city. The only difference is this is the first time people who go to work for the federal government have crossed the Anacostia to come to work. And we are very pleased to have them. We are very pleased for what this pavilion will do for our own residents with its prelude of what is to come. One of the things I most hear from residents is that there's no place for even casual dining. The notion of farmers market, Of course, we've had some farmers markets out here on occasion, but there are parts of the city where they are virtually permanent. Can't understand, particularly because we don't have as many supermarkets here. Why in the world we wouldn't have farmers markets where we have such a large population? I'm very appreciative for the signal that this facility sends to these first federal employees who are coming to work. They are only 1/3 of the employees who are going to be here and are due to come for the next several years. For both residents and federal employees to have amenities that were unavailable before. Now, our appropriators are meeting coming out of the shutdown. For the first time, we are having a conference on funding that both the House and the Senate have been working on. In the president's budget is $367,031,000 to continue work on the west side. I can't tell you how much will come out because they're going to be in conference, but we do know that signals an ongoing commitment from the administration. And the fact that the Senate has continuously funded this project means that the west side is going to be finished, albeit more slowly. I'm particularly pleased that we were able to get $9,800,000 for DC to redevelop the infrastructure here. That will, of course, accommodate not only for the federal employees here, but will aid us substantially. And, of course, we expect to have a building here on the east side as well. What we are witnessing this morning is the beginning of a transformation of Martin Luther King Avenue to make it into an avenue worthy of the name Martin Luther King Jr. Thank you very much.
All right. We want to hear now from the person who really has been just an extraordinary advocate for this area of the city. She's an elected leader who represents them. We have an ANC chairs meeting every quarter, right, Mary? And Mary is always there and actively engaged, and it's just the way she's been over all these years. I've known Mary a very, very long time and have an enormous appreciation for what she does as just an extraordinary commitment to the city. So please welcome Commissioner Mary Cuthbert.
Good morning. Thank you, Mayor Gray, Deputy Mayor Hoskins, Mr. Hanlon, and everyone who played a part to have this start of this new development on the East Campus of St. Elizabeth. We have had 3 mayors, and it's only one mayor made sure that we had a facility, a building on this East Campus. It's been, how many years? 100 years? 100 years. 100 years since a new building has been on the East Campus. It took us 12 years to zone it and 4 months to have a structure on it. And I am so elated. I was crowned Mary Queen Congress Heights. That's why I have on my crown. But this has been a lot of work for the Ward 8 community. From the year 2000 up to 2013 that we finally have a structure. And I am so excited, and I welcome everyone to come. We're going to have a jazz show. We're going to have different activities. So I'm asking everyone in the city to come to Ward 8 to visit my castle. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. We want to hear now, and I'll mention several people, and they can just come up in the order that I mentioned them. I want to hear next from a gentleman who's been mentioned several times. I didn't know Victor Hoskins before February of 2011, And when he came in and we sat down, I knew within 35 seconds that he was the person for this role. And we have worked so closely together. He's a delight to be able to work with, he and his team. So first of all, I want to ask he and Catherine Buell. Catherine has been the everything, the project manager and everything else for what's going on here. I want to ask them to come up first, followed by our DGS director, Brian Hanlon, the project architect, Peter Cook, who is with Davis, Brody, Bond. And then we want to have the Vice Admiral Brown to come up and talk about the broader picture, and the ongoing relationship with the federal government. And we do have a number of federal officials here as well. We have our regional GSA administrator here as well, Julia Hudson, who is here today. So, Julia, thank you for being out as well today. Victor and Catherine.
Good morning, everyone. I am going to be brief, but I just want to thank some people. I want to thank the mayor for his great vision. When I first joined him, he told me that he wanted to transform this city. I'm way too emotional for this job. I got way too much emotion for this job. A half Italian, half African American thing gets you every time. But really, I'm serious. He said he wanted to transform the city, and I had never, ever heard an elected official say that. I'd heard him say, we want to build this, we want to do that. But he said transform the city. And I asked myself, what do you mean by that? And he said, I want it to be one city. And I go, Mayor, I'm not quite understanding. It sounds nice, but what do you mean? He said, Victor, I want the people in Ward 8 to have the same opportunity as those in Ward 4. He said, I want the people in Ward 5 to feel just like the people in Ward 2. He said, we need to have a city where everybody has just an even shot, just the same opportunity. And that, to me, was a great vision. And that's why this building is here. I think this is the finest piece of architecture in the District of Columbia. Look where it is. It's in Ward 8. It's on the east end of the city. And he did this purposely. He did not do this by accident. He put $113 million behind the infrastructure around this area when no one else was investing in it. When the federal government stepped up, he got extremely clear on what he wanted to do. He said, Victor, we have to change that situation. And then he got a person like Alan Liu involved. And, I don't know if anybody in here worked with Alan Liu before, but I've never met with a more determined builder in my life. He's built all the great facilities in this city. He's built the convention center. He's built the baseball stadium. He really had a big hand in the convention center hotel, and he has had a great hand in this. And if it wasn't for his hand in this, Brian Hanlon and his team would not have finished. And Brian Hanlon and his team just did such a great job. And him and his project managers, they just really they did inspired work. Because guys, this is a government group doing this in 4 months. Come on now. Everybody knows that's a miracle. We can't even print a brochure in 4 months. It is really amazing. And then with the help of DCRA on the permitting, Office of Planning on the zoning, DDOT, DDOE, my DMPED staff, HPRB, the alphabet soup, everybody stepped up and did the right thing. They got flexible. They understood that what we were trying to do is something great. When you do something great, you will take criticism. If you do something average, really nobody cares. We tried to do something great here, so we know we irritated some people, and we know we made some people uncomfortable. But if you want greatness, that's what you do. That's what you do, and that's what the mayor has inspired us to do. Just a few more people. I want to thank Queen Mary for letting us be in her castle. She's our Queen Mary. I want to thank Faraz Kumseya. Faraz was in here. Faraz really did a lot of the groundwork on this. I think he's somewhere in the back. And I also want to thank Davis Brody Bond, and in particular Peter, for this inspired work. I'm married to an architect. And I took my wife down here, and I drove her down the street, and she said, oh, no, you got to stop. I got to see this thing. And she said, Victor, this is the only piece of architecture in this city that I wish my firm had done. And that's just how incredible this is. And I just want to thank them for really giving us an inspirational piece. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Catherine Buell.
Good morning. Today is an awesome day, and it is so exciting to have everybody out here. We had something to prove with this project, and I sure hope we proved it to everybody. Not only that amazing things are possible in St. E's, but that we can bring amazing projects to Ward 8. This was really an awesome team effort, not only through the work of Davis Forty Bond, but CADCON, Greg Terry got this project done. We had 29 days of rain this summer, and we still met a 90-day construction schedule. It was unreal. We have an amazing team, Darnetta Tyus, who's here, Corey Morgan, James Park, and Gary Ellis all work on St. E's full-time, and we thank them. And we have partnerships. DC Octo is providing a free DC Wi-Fi hotspot here, so you can come, grab a cup of coffee, and spend the whole day at Gateway DC. It is going to be an experience. We also have partnerships with people like On Floor Gallery, who provided the artwork today. And most importantly, we have the support of an amazing community, a community who advocates for us, who supports us, and who challenges us. And this would not be possible without the Ward 8 community, so I really thank you.
Okay, I'm Alan Liu. I'm the person they were complimenting earlier. I like to think that I use charm. You know, the mayor usually sets goals and he says he wants things done, and sometimes he'll look at me and he'll say, you know, we have a thing on Monday we need to be ready for. And I said, yeah, okay. So and this is a Friday night, and he wants to come up with renderings for something brand new. And I said, well, we don't even have the architect on board or the builder. He goes, yeah, and Alan, can you do it? And I said, all right, we'll get it done. You know, so that's the kind of culture we live in. You know, it's like everything has to be done yesterday. I like to think that there's a, you know, and then a while back, I guess a few months ago, this project wasn't that long, I get this kind of panic email from Deputy Mayor Hoskins. You know, this isn't going to happen, Alan. It's going to be an absolute disaster. And I said, relax, Victor, relax, you know. So I talked to our people, and everybody seemed like, you know, we're okay, we're going to make it, you know. So I have confidence in our team, you know. So led by Brian Hanlon and June Locker, the Deputy Director of Construction back there, you know. So I think she's putting a lot of energy into this. And I'm gonna repeat some of the things Victor said. I think we have a great team of architects here, Davis Brody, Bond, and the builder. And I saw. We came by here a couple of months ago, and, you know, Victor and I came by, and I look at the contractor straight in the eye and said, "Are you going to make this thing?" And he says, "Yes," and I believed him. You know, so I think that. Huh? Did you do the same thing? So I thank everyone for being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. You know, I've actually been in one of those meetings with Alan Liu where he's encouraging you to perform. And it only needs to happen once, and then you don't need to ever do it again because you just keep going. And so I remember the first one, well, the only one. I was thinking, are you doing a monologue from Full Metal Jacket, or are you trying to encourage me to? But I love working for Alan Liu, and I want to start by saying how much I feel honored and just delighted to be able to work for this mayor, Mayor Gray, who for me is an honor of a lifetime to work for this mayor and for our city of my birth. This project has been just a joy to be part of, and I want to start by really thanking, again, the mayor and fostering a spirit of collaboration. We as agency directors get to work not in silos, but with one another. And so, as I think Deputy Mayor Hoskins said, there's a whole host of folks out there, Nick Majette with DCRA and Terry Bellamy with DDOT, and of course, the great partnership with Victor's office, Victor Hoskins and Catherine Buell. Just a joy to be able to work through this project with them. The team has been mentioned, but I'm going to just thank again the great design build team led by CADCON Construction, Greg Terry, who I think only wears socks when he's golfing. Is that it? And on site, he had Davin Charlton, who was here every day working his tail off. And this is not a business for the faint of heart. You have to be steady, and you just have to keep going, and you have to believe and never waver. The design build team also, of course, I remember looking at the design proposals, and there were several that just rose to the top. They were beautiful for this development, but there was one that just pushed them all out of the way, and that was that which was prepared by Davis Brody Bond, Peter Cook, Rob Anderson. This to me is a jewel. I think it's fitting that the Coast Guard is across the way, that this has a sort of a seafaring symbolism to it, and part of the Renaissance in Ward 8 and on the East End is a process of discovery, and I think this is going to help lead the way in that process. On DGS's team, Michelle Chin, who's here, and Michelle, if you're here, just wave. Project manager, here all the time, Saturdays and Sundays. Solomon Ikotan, Wally Alushugan. Elena Roca, who's about this big, works on all of our permits and is just unstoppable. Corey Morgan, of course, who works with DGS but was detailed with the Deputy Mayor's office. And, of course, June Locker. June Locker is my deputy for capital construction and just did a great job on this. There's talk about this building being temporary, 10 years or so. I have a feeling we're going to fall in love with it. 70 years ago in World War II, they built temporary buildings. They were Quonset huts, and they were all over. And there's some of them that are still standing. This is, I think if you're going to build it temporary, why not do it well? Why not build it, design it, and build it so that it can last? This is an inspiring piece of architecture and one that we're really proud to be associated with. On all of our projects, we design, we build, we maintain, we secure at DGS. That's what we do. But we have this great opportunity to foster the mayor's goals in environmental sustainability and in workforce development. This project is LEED Gold and has a number of features that are about water, stormwater management and energy conservation. But it's also a victory in workforce development. We had Deputy Mayor's office and with the mayor goals of making sure that we got Ward 7 and 8 residents hired on this project and had a goal of 10% of the contract value. We actually exceeded that. We exceeded that goal for Ward 7 and 8. Our internal goal at DGS is that 50% of our contracting dollars, that's the total contract value, goes to certified business enterprises that are businesses owned and operated in the District of Columbia. And we're tracking almost at 70% on this project. So to me, it's well done. And lastly, I do want to say to the Queen here that how much we are, the mayor mentioned Ballou High School, which is under construction now. We have another project that's underway that's just down the way from Ballou, which is the Southeast Tennis and Learning Center. Great advocate for that, of course, is Cora Masters Berry, but Commissioner Cuthbert has been a great leader on that. I wish there were more like you. Wise and just calm and a great leader with great vision. So thank you.
Well, good morning. It is a good morning, and when the sun is out, when it was supposed to rain, this is especially good. So. There is a tendency to think of, or almost to romanticize the notion of the lone architect toiling away late at night, coming up with a brilliant idea. Let me disabuse you of that idea. It doesn't happen. There is no such thing as that lone architect coming up with that single idea. It is a team. So on behalf of the whole CADCON and Davis Brody Bond and Robert Silman and Gustafson Guthrie Nickel design build team, let me thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the great opportunity, the really wonderful opportunity it was to be able to work with you, to work with Councilmember Berry and Congresswoman Norton, the terrific people at the Deputy Mayor's Office and at DGS, all the reviewing agencies that we had the pleasure to be able to speak with and help refine this design, because I do think that through that process, the whole design has been improved. And let me also acknowledge that working with the community allows us to be warm and toasty on a cool day like this. So thank you very much as well. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge my teammates at Davis Brody Bond, whose contributions really cannot at all be understated. And let's start with Stephen Davis and Rob Anderson, Cody McNeil, Ryan Meyer, Adam Grosshans. Talk about some late hours and some hard work. These folks did it. So thank you very much, guys. And it was through this leadership and this vision that the pavilion is today a reality. And it's through this process that, again, it's a better project than when we began, and it's going to be able to continue to serve this community for years to come. And so when I say this was a real team effort, I really mean it. It was a great team effort. Now, we began with the charge to create a structure that was, quote unquote, innovative. It was supposed to be iconic. It was supposed to be visually and structurally distinct and unique from any other structure in the district. And I think, looking around, Mr. Mayor, I think we achieved that goal. I think so.
We didn't know whether it was built or landed.
But having said that, we didn't set out to be different just to be different. I think that's kind of how we approach things at Davis Brody Bond. We try to create buildings that are as responsive as possible to the needs and the communities that they serve. I'm reminded of the words of a mentor of mine, Max Bond, who had said that public places and buildings should respond to their physical, social, technical, and cultural context, as well as to the needs and the aspirations of the users. So we set out to create a covered space that you see behind me of almost 17,000 square feet, a space that's large enough to accommodate about 40 different vendors and about 8 food trucks over at curbside. We created a space that we're standing and sitting in right now of, all told, about 5,200 square feet that provides for year-round activities, for community uses and the like. We've created a feature wall over here. If you haven't seen it, I don't encourage all of us to go over there at the same time, but in this community space over here, we have a feature wall that was made from repurposed wood that was recovered from some of the adjacent structures over here. It was destined for landfill, but what we did was we refinished it to help create new and lasting beauty out of this beautiful wood and provide a historic connection back to some of the structures that will surround this great pavilion. We created a structure that was conceived in sustainability with drought-resistant plantings up to the north, roof plantings that help to reduce the heat island effect, a mechanical system that relies heavily on natural ventilation, and rainwater harvesting. And just to give you an idea about the rainwater harvesting, we have a 10,000-gallon cistern on site that covers the entire needs covers the entire irrigation needs for this entire site. By creating a covered marketplace here at grade and a universally accessible roofscape, we've actually increased, not decreased, the amount of space accessible to the community. If you haven't been up there, it's what we're calling kind of an elevated community park. It's almost like a park-like setting. And one of the wonderful things about it is it allows you to get up top and for the very first time to be able to stand up top and be able to visually unite both the east and west campuses. First time it's ever been able to be to happen here. So stand up there, take a 360-degree panorama, and you can begin to see what's happening on both the east and west campuses at the same time. And we've opened up this site that sits in the middle of this community. It's a green space that was formerly off limits, right? But what we've done is we've tried to knit together the community and also knit together the architecture of the 19th century and with visions of the 21st century. So, give you an idea about what you're looking at here, just a few figures. This structure from north to south, let me try that again, north to south, is over 400 feet long. That's 100 feet longer than a football field, and we were trying to figure out how long it would take RG3 to go up and down here. But at its widest point, it's about 100 feet long, not quite as wide as a football field. Out that way, it's about 25 feet from ground to the top. And thanks to our great structural engineers, we have a 65-foot cantilever at the north end. So think about that when you're standing up on the rooftop. We also used a very simple and very durable palette of materials. You'll see here glass, metal, an ultra-high performance concrete, a vegetated green roof, and wood. And to that point about the wood, one of the things we've tried to do is, I don't know if you've been to places where you touch a handrail or something like that and it's made out of metal. It's very cold to the touch, and it leaves you with a kind of a cold feeling. Well, what we've done is, you'll notice as you walk around here, we've got wood at all the places that you want to touch. You're going to sit down on a bench, you'll hold a handrail, you'll go up the stairs and so on, and it's all wood. So that was a very conscious decision to use wood where we can touch it and feel warmth about it. So there are a whole host of other amenities throughout this project, from an educational ecosystem and a bioretention terrace at the north end, to this beautiful tree that we've worked around, which we've nicknamed the reading tree. And we have seating throughout this setting here. So we have been truly honored to be able to contribute our part to this effort, and it's a really great pleasure to be able to see this project as an architect, to see this project go from just a concept to a reality in a very short period of time. So thank you very much, congratulations, and please enjoy this.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Manson Brown. As the mayor said, I'm a proud child of D.C. I left D.C. about 37 years ago, pursued my dreams with the United States Coast Guard, and it's certainly an honor after all these years to return to the home of my birth. I live in the ward, I work in the ward, I pray in the ward. My responsibilities over our new Coast Guard headquarters are as the commanding officer of headquarters. One of my residents in the building happens to be my boss, the Commandant of the Coast Guard. He's the 24th Commandant, and I bring you greetings from Admiral Robert J. Papp, Jr. We've moved about 2,500 of our over 3,000 employees over. That move will be completed by the middle of next month. As the commanding officer, my job is to bring my employees over here. And I'll just tell you, at 8:30 this morning, GSA and the Department of Homeland Security helped us open the tunnel between the two campuses. And as I walked through that tunnel and came up to the stairs, I was struck by this beautiful sight and this beautiful structure. It reminded me of the baseball film, The Field of Dreams. Kevin Costner, if you build it, they will come. And I just want to say to you today that this is such an inspiring place. You've touched our hearts. I know we will come. I brought a bunch of my folks over today, including a proud graduate of Ballou High School. I think that word is going to spread like wildfire. And I think as you create the opportunities here and bring the vendors here, you're going to see the men and women from the United States Coast Guard come. Now, we're just the first, as Congresswoman mentioned. This is through the auspices of the General Services Administration and the Department of Homeland Security, supposed to be an enclave of 14,000 Homeland Security employees. That sounds like opportunity to me. Let me just give you a few details about what our employees are currently engaged in, and then I'll cede the podium. As I say, we're going to complete the move in mid-November. As part of the transition, we've shifted our partnerships with an elementary, a middle, and a high school over to this ward. We have an active relationship now with Ballou High School. Our volunteers are coaching 2 youth soccer teams in the ward in partnership with the DC United Foundation. Our chief petty officers, who are the heart of the Coast Guard, they're the ones that wear the anchor, have partnered with St. Elizabeth's Hospital. They are now volunteer custodians for the almost 3,000 grave sites that occupy both the East and West Campus. You'll see them along the fence line, cleaning up some of the brush that has accumulated over the years. I should mention that those grave sites really include Civil War, Spanish-American War, World War I, and World War II veterans. There are a number of Medal of Honor recipients in there. On the East Campus, it was the first time in our history that we buried both African-American and Caucasian soldiers. So there's a lot of history that comes with that. I just want to thank Queen Mary and the citizens of Ward 8 for embracing us. A couple of weeks ago, I took some of my crew and we did a walk throughout the ward. We had lunch at the Big Chair, stopped in some of the barber shops, and there was just such a warm embrace that we received from the community. We're proud to be here. Truly, this is a field of dreams. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you very much to Admiral Brown and all the speakers that preceded him. You know, just so it's clear that this isn't something that's being done in isolation, you know, we've talked about Ballou High School that's being rebuilt around the corner. That is well underway. We'll be ready for next school year. Some of you are probably wondering what's going on across the street. That actually is a STEM charter school that's being built. That will be yet another opportunity for our children. You heard Congresswoman Norton mention that the Congress has approved $10 million for an investment in an innovation center here. That will match our $113 million infrastructure commitment that we have made over a period of 4 years. Also, just down the street in Bellevue, we will be opening later this year a brand new clinic. It'll be the second new clinic that we've opened in the last 18 months here in Ward 8. We opened a new Anacostia clinic in May of 2012, excuse me, that accommodates twice as many patients as we could before. We had 25,000 in that sort of Quonset hut-looking building on W Street, and now we have a brand new clinic that accommodates 50,000 people. The Bellevue clinic will be just as nice as the one in Anacostia down by the Frederick Douglass home. You should know also, and some of you may know, that as a part of our effort to build a new soccer stadium, which is moving along apace, we are moving the Reeves Center over to Ward 8. It will be on Good Hope Road. We're not literally moving the building. That building will probably be raised where it is, but it will bring between 700 and 1,000 employees over to Ward 8, the nexus really between Ward 8 and Ward 7. And that's a project that Alan is working feverishly on as well. And then there's another project. Some of you may have seen the hearing on Wednesday, on Monday. And that was one that people didn't think was going to happen. And that is being able to start the undergrounding process with our electrical power sources in the city. When I came back from China last year, I'd had enough. We had the derecho, which was yet, another in a string of power outages. And unfortunately started off on a negative foot, which is how sometimes things happen. And there were some conversations that I had with some people outside of the government. I said, very nicely, I said, we can't have this anymore. We need a game changer. And so Alan has been leading an effort to bring about undergrounding, and it's a phenomenal process. I don't normally say that you want to celebrate the process, but this is a case where the process, I think, is illustrative. The Public Service Commission, PEPCO, the District of Columbia government, and the People's Council all came together. You talk about strange bedfellows? That's truly strange bedfellows. Came together to be able to craft a plan that will underground the wires of the District of Columbia, that will, all these wires you see, the ones that involve electrical capacity will be replaced and put underground. What is it? I guess close to $1 billion project in the first phase. And we had the hearing on Monday. And I don't usually watch a hearing live because I usually don't have time. But I sat there and watched that one, not only for what they had to say, it was who was saying it. They were in unison, and it was those entities that I mentioned who come together to be able to make this happen. And Ward 8 is going to be a tremendous beneficiary of that. So this is not a project in isolation. This is a project in fulfilling a promise and a commitment. And I'm absolutely sure you got a new name now. You'll never be known as Mary Cuthbert again. Any questions on this project? Yes, Mike.
Well, first, the tunnel is still covered with a big sign that says Mayor Vincent Gray welcomes you to St. Elizabeth's East. So when does that sign come down, and when will the Coast Guard employees actually be able to walk through and come up here?
I'm going to ask the Admiral if he would come up and speak to that.
You know, I defer to GSA on the actual plan, but I was able to walk through. There is security there. Obviously, we are the Department of Homeland Security, and we provide security for the nation. And so some of our operations are sensitive enough to where we need to restrict access, and it's quite a tight restriction, I'll tell you, as compared to what we had down at Buzzard's Point. But as from what I saw this morning, I think the employees can start coming over. And I'm already hearing a buzz amongst the workforce that folks are going to amend their commuting plans. I actually asked my team when I came over today, I'm a bike commuter. I come out of Bowling Air Force Base. Are we going to put some bike racks in here and encourage people to stop in here for breakfast or coffee on their way to work? So I think now that the facilities are in place and the connections are starting to develop, those opportunities are going to grow.
And think about it too, Mike. Obviously, you know, the fulfillment of our own goals here is facilitated by this. Because again, we don't want to become an enclave. We don't want to become have the West Side become what we've seen in other federal facilities in other parts of the country, where it simply is an entity unto itself. People come in, go to work, leave, and go home, and have no real connection to the community. So that's one of the reasons for this facility. And remember, we've got the Congress Heights Metro station right over here that will be facilitated. Its use will be facilitated by access to the West Side. So we will be as much of an advocate as the Admiral is to make sure that this happens ASAP. But I think what you're saying is we're virtually ready to start that process, right, Admiral? Okay. James?
Just for the record, Mayor, this was supposed to open in August. What was the delay? We just want to know what was the delay, if any.
You mean a few weeks? I don't know. I mean, you know, maybe we had a maybe we had a construction schedule that was extraordinarily aggressive. We did. I think we had a 4-month schedule. And then, of course, we had the federal government for a period of almost 3 weeks that shut down. But the district government didn't shut down, okay? We kept working. That's why we're able to be here today. So we wish it had been open a few weeks earlier. But you know what? In my opinion, is well worth waiting for, well worth, working to get it right. And I think folks who have been on this indeed have.
Mr. Mayor, some of the people going to the Coast Guard, as I understand it, are taking shuttle buses from various metro stops, which means they won't necessarily stop here as they go into the closed compound. Do you have any marketing studies or reviews in the neighborhood about who's going to use this site as opposed to just hoping that they will use it?
You want to talk about that, Catherine?
Because I think the camera was off.
Yeah, that's Catherine Buell.
Mr. Mayor,
that's Catherine Buell. She works for us. And by the way, Tom, I know you will appreciate what an extraordinary job the government did in getting this done. Dispelling those notions about the government is slow moving.
I will ask about the budget in a moment.
Good morning. So, market studies. Yes, we have done a market study. And we found that not only is this going to be utilized by the Coast Guard, but also by the St. Elizabeth's Hospital, which has about 800 employees, UCC, which has another 3,000 employees. There are not food service opportunities here east of the river, and also by the general public. If folks come out to Ward 8 on a morning, it's very difficult to find a place to find a cup of coffee. So we will offer that amenity in addition to the U.S. Coast Guard. We are talking about providing shuttle service throughout the East Campus from the Congress Heights Metro Station. However, once we start our infrastructure improvements, there will be some challenges, but we'll be constructing a temporary walkway so that people can easily either bike through from the Congress Heights Metro Station or walk.
Thank you very much, and I don't know if you can answer this question. My understanding is the original budget was about $5 million, but because of some of the weather delays and the weatherization of these rooms here, it's more like $8 million. What is the total cost?
It's $8.3 million. And the reason for the increase in cost is because we lived up to our commitment. We heard loud and clear from the community that they wanted to be able to use this space year round. And that was to the tune of an additional several $1 million. And so we paid the additional $1 million, and that's why we're in this wonderful space now.
Could I ask a follow-up? Do you have confirmed vendors, and who are they?
Yeah, so today we will be releasing our first vendor application for a Sunday pop-up food market. We've got a lot of interest from food vendors. That application will go out today. On Monday, we're going to have a pop-up coffee Monday. That will be operated by Brown & Fried, our management company.
No one has been locked in.
No, but we will be looking for vendors over the course of the next month.
And are you looking for local vendors or national chains or both?
Yeah, both. For the pop-up Sunday food market, we're looking heavily for local vendors, and we will be extending invitations towards 7 and 8 businesses. But also for our initial events, we'll be having pop-up retailers. So, for example, Giant and Peapod will be working with us on our fall festival that's coming up later this month.
We're trying to attract entrepreneurs like Starbucks, for example. Some of you may remember that we made an offer to folks which we think is quite attractive, and that I think is 6 months for $1, and that we will pay the utility costs as well for those who come. You know, obviously, for us, it's an opportunity to get people here in an area of the city that they may not be that familiar with, so we're willing to make whatever investments are necessary in order to make that happen. And again, we think 6 months essentially free here will be quite an attraction for those who really want to test out the market themselves. Yes, identify yourself.
Hi, my name is Nikki C. I live here in Congress Heights and write a blog on this neighborhood.
Are you part of the media?
Yes.
Okay. I want to make sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure they know. Yeah.
A lot of our readers and residents that live here were super excited about seeing this space as we drive by and walk by. How open do you feel that it should be for those of us who live here and who are having to leave to have that cup of coffee? How integrated do you see this being?
Completely and totally. That's one of the ideas. We want to break down the notion of, a century long image of St. Elizabeth's as foreboding. That gate was a place you didn't come through. You didn't go out of it and you didn't come into it. So we're going to do everything we possibly can to create as much of an integrated experience as we possibly can. If it doesn't happen, then we feel it will be partially a failed experience. But we don't think that will happen. We've had markets, farmers markets here on a few weekends already where people have been invited in. And we've done events here on the weekends as well. How many events have we had? I've been to 3 or 4 at least, yeah. And, as someone who not only lives over here, but my background is in clinical psychology. I was thinking about it today that when I was in graduate school, I actually spent time here at St. Elizabeth's. And it really does have a different feel at this stage. Back in the day, when you came in these gates, you really felt like you were in a place that was off limits. There were, at its peak, there were probably 7,000 patients on both sides of the avenue. And we're trying to dispel that. A lot of folks don't even know what St. E's was, from those days. And that's good in a sense. So one of the reasons why we're doing this today is to make sure people know, to reach out and encourage people to come in here. And I think with additional, businesses, vendors, providers or whatever in here, it's going to encourage more so people to come in and use the grounds. Mm-hmm. Denise?
2 questions, Mayor. One, there are about 600 or 700 men who are housed in a homeless shelter right on the grounds. What access will they have or continue to have to this facility? And then secondly, can you identify any of the CBEs in Ward 7 or 8 who participated in this project that helped you to exceed?
Well, the first question, like everybody else, Denise, the people who are homeless will have access. They as you know, they're involved at the shelter only between the hours of 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. They do whatever they choose to do because obviously it's a democracy, so folks go wherever they want to. And I don't doubt the people who use the shelter will also use this area. You know, you live over here, I live over here, and I see a lot of the folks, who use the shelter in a variety of places. You know, it's up by Skyland and other places because I get into conversations with them. So we hope it's an experience for everybody, that people will feel comfortable, and there's no such thing as off limits to anyone here. That's a part of the change in the psychology of this place. You want to talk about CBEs? Sure.
Yeah, I've got a list here, but we might want to just circle back and make sure that we don't leave anybody out. But I'll just read through some of the CBE contractors, specifically from Ward 8, as it's written here. Horton and Barber, they did excavation work. Atlas Manufacturing, they did the steel frame for this structure. Of course, CADCon was a general contractor. CBE, Magnolia Plumbing did site work utilities. F&L, also Ward 8, did erosion control. L.A. Howard did concrete. Nelson Welding from Ward 8, metal stair assistance. Continental did the storefront. NES did electrical. Robert Silman did structural engineering work here. AMT, company did the surveyor. GT Concrete did the site concrete. AV Smoot, carpentry and millwork. TriStar did drywall work, and Lorenzo RBS helped with third-party inspections. And I just want to make sure I don't leave anybody out, so we'll circle back with June over there and make sure you get a complete list. Thanks.
All right, we'll take one more question on, before I call on you, Tom, is any member of the media who hasn't gotten a chance to answer a question on this issue? Okay, Tom.
Mr. Mayor, tonight in Ward 8 there is a public hearing on the efforts to either decriminalize marijuana or to legalize marijuana. One being you'd get a fine if you had it. What is your thought on this? I know you've been preparing a policy, but can you give us an idea of where your thinking is?
I'm still smoking it over.
You know, I'm not even sure I would have said that. You know, this is a story for Mark Seagrave, so I don't know.
Yeah, I better be careful, right? We are. A
lot of young African American males are arrested for this crime, and
I support decriminalization. Legalization is another issue. I'm not there on that issue yet, but decriminalization, and you'll hear our testimony when we do testify on this, that will support decriminalization. All right, thank you. We're going to go on to those who were just here for this event. You may take your leave if you like. We'll take 2 minutes and give people a chance to exit if they like, and then we'll go on to general questions from the media if you wish.
At the hearing, there were some who called for more details in this proposal to underground 60 feeder lines. First of all, one complaint is, why haven't those 60 feeder lines been identified? Should that be identified for not just the council but for the general public before moving forward with a $1 billion plan?
Yeah, I think most of them have been identified. They are the ones that have been most prone to outages, Mike. There's another 90, I think, beyond that. So, and Alan can probably speak to it with more detail, but I don't think we'll have any difficulty at all with detailing what those feeder lines are. It'll give people an idea, too, what will be the first focus, because 60 feeder lines represents what, 40% of the 150, but it represents a much higher percentage of the outages that we have in the District of Columbia. Anything you want to add, Alan?
Yeah, we've actually been working on specific feeder lines, so if that's information, if that's what you're asking for, we can easily provide that. I think that just might be some confusion over, the exact locations. Terry Bellamy's here from DDOT, and DDOT and PEPCO worked with us very closely to separate out the feeder lines that had the greatest impact on reliability versus the ones that had very minimal impact on reliability. So those 60 feeder lines we've been working on for more than a year.
There would be a process that separate only so many projects in so many areas of the city, right? So how do you go about deciding which gets the priority?
Yeah. Well, if the PEPCO information that was actually presented the other day, it showed the feeder lines, the 60 feeder lines, are spread around the entire perimeter of the city. So it's going to be a question of I think we've been in the business of rebuilding streets, so that's something that we're not reinventing. So DDOT has a schedule of rebuilding streets. We're going to, as much as we can, follow that schedule, and then in some cases, if it's right adjacent, we might include it. But we're not looking for a situation where we literally cause gridlock in one particular neighborhood. So there's that part of it is still being worked through, and so I mean, if you like, Director Bellamy can give you a sense of how we would prioritize these things. I don't know if that would be the case. I mean, I think we can. I mean, we have all that information already. Yeah, I don't see it as an issue. I mean, I didn't think it was an issue. That's why we didn't necessarily present it. We thought we were getting into the weeds and bushes when we actually, spell out exactly, which feeder but it's all mapped out. We have literally engineering plans that identify all the feeders and the impact on the various and then the communities that it's located in.
We can do that, Mike. We can do that. I mean, we didn't just pick 60 out of the air. It was those that were known to be most vulnerable to outages, which represents a very high percentage of the outages in the city. Other questions? Matt?
I got to ask a question. I've been hearing from several people that you have been putting your feelers out, especially in this part of the city. Maybe even asking your family members to go out and talk to folks that about what kind of support you have here if you do plan to run for re-election.
My family members?
Carlos, that's what I heard.
No, I haven't.
I know anyway.
Okay, I haven't asked him to do that.
Have you been doing that at all, just to get maybe stick your toe in the water to see what kind of support you have out there?
I actually think my toe is in the water every day, whether I like it or not. And as I've said to many people, you get a sense what a person in my position, you have a record to run on, and we know what our record is at this stage. So I don't think who I am or what I've tried to do over these 2 years and almost 10 months is a mystery to anybody. Some of it may need to be amplified with folks, but I guess the answer to your question, no, I haven't had any organized effort. I haven't asked, my kids to go out and do anything in that regard. So no, there's nothing formal at all. If he's doing it, which wouldn't surprise me with Carlos, he's doing it on his own.
Like you're almost ready to make a decision on this?
It's amazing when I talk to you guys every day. Everybody has a little different angle to come at this issue. When we're ready to make a decision, we will announce it. And again, people ask me about running a campaign. Frankly, and I don't mean this flippantly, but in this job, you run a campaign every day because people are forming opinions about what you do and what you don't do. And people will have opinions about this. I think that this is a wonderful addition to the to the east end of the District of Columbia. I think if I were evaluating me, which I do that every day, I would go back and say, what did he say in the beginning and what did they do? I think that's the acid test. What did they say? What did they do? And I know Tom will love me doing this. But go back and look at fiscal stability. If we hadn't had fiscal stability, we couldn't have gotten through this shutdown, keeping the District of Columbia government open. We couldn't have done that without fiscal stability. What we've done in education. Look at the test scores, and we got more test scores, by the way, that will be announced next week. You all will hear about that. You look at the development across the city. You look at the jobs. You look at public safety. You look at sustainability. All of those things are issues that we talked about in the beginning. And see, I see Tom Sherwood back there, smiling about this because I talk about it a lot. But you know what? I don't mind talking about it a lot because if it was a failure, you all would be talking about it a lot.
That's true. But you know, you are a detailed person, and the nomination period, if I can follow up Matt, starts November 5th or 8th for petitions to be gathered. Your opponents have raised over nearly $2 million. People are on the way. I don't think you want to do a hurry-up, last-minute campaign because of the issues of 2010. But at what point do you, if you're going to get in, don't you have to? You got to raise money. You've got to get a campaign manager. You've got to get a campaign finance chairman. You've got to get the petitions done. All this between now and January 2nd.
Well, you have to do the petitions between now and January 2nd. If you go back and look at my campaigns, I think when I ran for Ward 7, I got in the middle of May for a September primary. When I ran for chair, I got in at the end of April and the beginning of May for a September primary. And frankly, we all know the issues of 2010. It's been talked about ad nauseum. I got in late. Wait for more details on that. Yeah, I don't know what I've given you all the details I can give you. I've given you that, and we talked about it on Friday with you and Coach Up. I've given you the details I can give you. Now, my point was in raising that is I've never had a campaign that had an extensive period of time, and again, I think I've been running a campaign, frankly, for the last 2 years and 10 months, because you run a campaign in these jobs. Whoever's in a council job right now who's an incumbent and running for re-election, that's what they're going to be evaluated on. Mendelson, if he chooses to run for re-election, because he hasn't said either, he now has a record because he's been in the job for, I think, probably 16 to 17 months. That is largely what somebody is going to run on. And frankly, if you choose to run on something else, let's say I got up and said, I'm going to do all of these things, in the next 4 years. And the first thing you always say is, what the heck have you done for the last whatever period? I think that's the record you run on, and I think that's what people would expect you to talk about.
Well, you like the job. It sounds like it's not a question of whether you're going to run, but
when
you're going to announce.
Well, I like the job. And don't try to finesse me into an answer.
Chess game going on here.
At least you didn't call it a checker game.
You said you've shared all the details you can. Could you, in your mind, run if you wanted to without sharing more details about the 2010 campaign?
I can't share I can't share what it is that I can't share. When I say I can't share, that I don't know. Okay, so that at the end of the day, people will have to decide that for themselves. If I choose to run, Mike, they'll have to decide themselves. There's many people in this city who've known me for years. They know what kind of person I am. I've spent my life working in service in the District of Columbia. I worked for people with intellectual disabilities. I spent 4 years working in one of the most difficult government agencies at the time that there was, the Department of Human Services, that had everything under the sun involved in. I spent 4 years there. I then went back to work with homeless young people. After that, I did that for 10 years. And then I got into Ward 7, the chair, and then this job simply because of my desire to continue to serve the people of the District of Columbia. What's that song? If you don't know me by now, you're never going to know me.
DC voters should never expect a full debrief on the 2010.
I don't know. How would they know they got a full debrief, Mike? I can only tell you what I know, and I've tried to do that all along the way. Some people want particular answers. They're looking for particular outcomes. If I get out there and say, yes, I flew to the moon, if that's the kind of answer folks are looking for, then, maybe they'll be satisfied. I don't know whether people will be fully satisfied or not at the end of the day. That is a decision that each individual person will have to make. And I'm assuming that people also, like I said before, people will look at me in toto. They will look at who I was before I got here. They will look at me in terms of who I've been since I got here. I think we have a very strong record in this administration. I love working with the people that I work with every day. They work hard. They're very talented. They, frankly, endure a lot of things that they shouldn't have to endure at times. People who have their own agendas, they come to hearings and, create all kinds of, abusive experiences for people, and they do well. They take it. They get things done. So, you know what? I stand on the record that we have, no matter what I do. And I stand behind and beside the people who I work with. There have been people, wait a minute, Tom. There have been people who have said we should have gotten rid of this person and that person. I know why they were selected in the first place. And we have worked with people to make sure that they had every opportunity to be able to succeed. And there are very few people. I don't even know, who they are, who left this administration, in some untoward way. I read an article recently that I thought was absolutely ridiculous. It cited somebody who didn't even work for me as somebody who left this administration. And I'm not going to talk about the article or the author of the article. But the person didn't even work for this administration and was cited. So, I hope you guys will get it right also.
Mr. Mayor, if I
Wait
just
a minute, Tom. Wait a minute. Matt.
Coming back to your possibility of running next year, we know your proud of your accomplishments over the last almost 3 years. We know that the issue of 2010 is still wide open. In between those two issues, what's on your mind? What are you thinking about? We don't know if you made your decision or not. You won't tell us if you have. But in between those two things, what else are you weighing?
What am I weighing?
Yeah, in terms of making a decision to jump in or stay out.
Whether I should do it or not. I mean, at the end of the day, I will have made a decision whether I'm going to do this or not. I feel like we're going around in circles, guys. I feel like you all are playing the game. Let me ask him just the right question so he will answer the question that I want him to answer.
Mr.
It's
Mayor,
not going to happen today, guys,
well,
okay?
Mr. Mayor, if I could ask you now, I promise it'll be my last question no matter what you say is an answer.
That's the first time you will fulfill that promise.
I promise. I know he doesn't, so if you will, Doxy, if you'll let me ask it, we'll be done. Mr. Mayor, if you decide not to run, do you feel confident you achieve what you said, that I'm going to be the best mayor I can be while I'm in the office? So that if you do decide not to run, you feel you can walk away from the office feeling satisfied you achieved what you wanted to do?
Well, if you're asking me the question, I think we have done the things that we set out to do. And you laugh when I start to detail those things, but I think that's the reference point. I think you go back and you say, okay, what did you say you were going to do in the beginning, and what did you really do? So the answer is yes, and we're not even 3 years into this job yet. Not even 3 years. What we have been able to do as a group in less than 3 years is nothing short of phenomenal, in my opinion, Tom. And, you all may not agree. That's up to you, but you're asking my opinion at this stage. And my opinion is that we've not only set out and we've not only done the things we set out to do, I think we've exceeded those in many respects. We didn't set out to be able to have an undergrounding experience in the District of Columbia, but it emanated from a set of conditions that were just intolerable. And we were able to bring people together to get people on the same page, and those who listened to that hearing on Monday with Alan and Joe Rigby and with Sandra Matabu-Fry and Betty Ann Kane, those folks were sitting there together. Frankly, it was rare over decades, no matter who was in those jobs. You couldn't even get them in the same room to have a conversation. They were there espousing an approach that would advance the state of, the conditions in the District of Columbia. So, yeah, I think we've accomplished a lot. I think we've accomplished what we set out to do. I would love to see budget autonomy, and frankly, I'm going to do everything I can to be able to see that the District of Columbia gets its rightful justice. It is an injustice. It is unconscionable to sit in a city that espouses to be the capital of the world's democracy and won't even accord democracy to the people who live in the District of Columbia. That is a travesty that needs to be solved. And yes, I'm happy that we are out of this for the rest of the year, but frankly, that's just the beginning. We need to be out of any potential future shutdowns for the life, for in perpetuity. And we need to have control of our resources to make our decisions. How can people up here who don't even know some of the streets in the District of Columbia make informed decisions about how the resources of this city should be deployed? And it should stop being an avenue for people to have whatever ideological position they have on something and use the District of Columbia as a basis for attaching those issues, and then go back home and say, I couldn't do it here, but I did it in the District of Columbia. And frankly, I would hope you all will continue to talk about that. Many of you all live in the District of Columbia. It is an unconscionable shame. It's a travesty that 632,000 people have to be subjected to that day in and day out. And yes, I want it to end. And I will do whatever I can wherever I am to be able to fight to make that happen.
You said last question, please.
The Attorney General's bill unsigned. If you feel strongly about it, why not be
Well, sometimes you send a bill back unsigned, not necessarily. I mean, a veto is a very powerful statement, and I think probably it would have been overridden. I don't know, but there are features about the bill that I support. But there are other features that I did have concerns about, which were, expressed in the letter that we sent. So unfortunately, sending something back unsigned gives you a middle ground to be able to say, okay, I'm not so overwhelmed by this that I'm going to veto it, but there are factors that are associated with this. One of them we can fix, and that is what we do with the general counsel, the general counsels who are in these agencies. It was important to be able to disengage them from the Attorney General's office when that was an elected position. Now the election has been delayed for 4 years. That should have been put back the way it was before, and then when we come back to the election, then we can do that at that point. What you unfortunately have now is the possibility of the general counsels will be working for, one manager, if you will, and those who are involved with the Attorney General effort will be working for somebody else. I don't think that works until you have the, until you have the position, the position of Attorney General actually elected. So. I didn't feel strongly enough about it to say let's veto it, but I did want to elevate the issue, and we may come back with legislation of our own to fix the problems that exist in what's being sent back unsigned. If I signed it and then came back with those issues, somebody would say, what the heck did you sign it for in the first place? Thank you all very much.